this week, we told you about the new documentary, The Green Prince, opening in theaters Friday. It tells the remarkable story of a Hamas insider who took an extreme risk by becoming an Israeli informant. WGBH News arts editor Jared Bowen recently spoke with the actual Green Prince and joins me now. Welcome.
Yeah, Emily, this is a really fascinating film. The Green Prince is the code name given to Mossab Youssef, who was the son of a Hamas founder. And he was so disturbed, so profoundly disturbed by what he saw in Hamas that he went to the Israeli side and became an informant. And we have a clip from this film, The Green Prince, which is directed by the same man who did Man on Wire, which is about the crossing of the World Trade Center. And so this is a director who knows how to build tension, and he really does this in this two-hander documentary. And in this scene, you see where they relate how they first encountered each other.
I had a killer instinct. I knew it, I was so into it. I knew that it's going to happen.
He asked me, would you work for us? And I thought, is this guy out of his mind or what? How can you convince someone like me not to work for Israel? Simply, because of my father. I will never betray my father.
He knows that when he says yes, maybe things will be more smooth, more easy. He was afraid.
Wow.
Now, Emily, this is, first of all, it's an eerie time for this to come out with Middle East violence escalating as it was in the late 1990s and early 2000s when this film is set, when this relationship between the two took place. And it was about 10 years that he was an informant. I interviewed both Mossab Youssef and Gonen Ben Yitzhak, his Israeli handler for Shin Bet, which is basically the equivalent of their CIA or Secret Service, about their experience. And I started by asking Mossab Youssef why he found no other resort but to turn his back on Hamas and essentially his family to become an informant for the Israelis.
First of all, I did not turn against my people or my family. I turned against the principles that they have, their mentality, their ideology. This is what I don't like. Them as people, they're just like any other people. I love them unconditionally, even today. I had to stand for my truth, what I witnessed in prison, Hamas torturing and killing our own people. I came to realize that Hamas is a real danger against the Palestinian society, against humanity. And my father raised us thinking like leaders, which basically I had to think out of the box and judge Hamas for their brutality. And this is why I decided to work against the movement.
As the film illustrates, you were one of your father's most trusted confidants. You were with him always, so presumably you had access to every level of leadership, the decision-making, and this is information that you fed the Israelis. But were you not in a position to use that power, that persuasion, to affect any sort of change?
First of all, I did not have access to all the information. Even my father himself does not have access to all the information. Hamas is a very complicated secret organization. But I had access to the leadership, and many times I supported my father when he came with the idea to have a truce with Israel. But I tell you, every time that he tried to make a progress, he hit the wall of the Islamic Hamas ideology. And this is the ceiling and the limitation of the movement. It's ideology. You can be creative as much as you can, but at the end of the day, your ceiling is the movement's mind, the movement's ideology.
Gonen, here you have the son of a Hamas leader and founder who you believe that you've turned, and he's your informant. You say that you studied psychology, you have a killer instinct, is how you describe it in the film. But what conviction did you actually have that somebody with this kind of access actually was your informant and feeding you good information and working on behalf of the Israelis?
First, you must understand that recruiting such an asset was something that was really tremendous. Made a change in the way we understood Hamas from the time before recruiting Mossab and after that. You are never sure when you have an asset, and you need to check and recheck the information he gives you. So it's a process. And during the time that Mossad was working, the Green Prince was working for Israel, I can say that the Israeli intelligence was not 100% comfortable with him. We knew that in the beginning he had thoughts about revenge, about maybe killing his handler, and for that reason he was not trusted 100% in the agency. When I was handling him, I got the feeling, the understanding, and we were talking about my killer instinct. I knew in my instinct that he is 100% with us. I saw the operations we managed to do together, and he was, you know what, maybe 120% with us.
Mossad, during this time, and this is something I don't see you addressed as much in the film, but while you're the Green Prince, your code name, were you living in fear the entire time about being caught by Hamas?
It was a very dangerous situation. If I was discovered by Hamas movement, I knew that my father's status wouldn't help me. Actually, they executed people for the suspicion of collaborating with Israel. This is how frustrated they were. And it was a very dangerous game, living on the edge. But in the meantime, some of us have to give up our comfort just for a little to save many human lives.
I mean, how does it work in terms of terms of humanity? Do you just push it aside? Do you try to forget about it in order to have a clear head to do what you did? How did you get yourself through it?
Well, basically, whenever I got access to information, or I could use some of intelligence to stop suicide bombing, that I found satisfaction in that. Even though I did not get a chance to celebrate that, nobody recognized it. There was no reward. There was no a gift given in return. It was only for my conscience. So that was the fuel that kept me going.
Gonen, you make a very fascinating disclosure in the film, which is you knew the moment that you took him as an informant, it was the end of his life to some degree, however you want to look at that, whether literally the end of his life because there is a death threat against you by Al-Qaeda, or it's the end of his existence with his family, all family ties have been severed. You had to weigh that morally. Was there a struggle with you to decide to have him as an informant?
It's always hard, and especially when you recruit a new asset, you know that somehow you mess his life. You put him in a position that now his destiny is different than what it was before. We had a goal, and our goal was to save lives, to stop killing. It wasn't just, the fun of recruiting people. So this was what made us I can't say forget, but at least maybe explain what we are doing. And you think about it. I had assets that told me, we are tired. We had enough. And you always have this struggle, okay, should I let him just go, or I need him? I need to stop the next terror attack.
Mossad, as I just mentioned, you are living under threat. There has been this death sentence levied against you. There are people who see you as a traitor. How do you live with that? And do you physically have to keep moving? How secure do you have to keep your life?
I don't think this way. It's all a mental thing, I believe. If you look at the Islamic State now in Iraq, they are executing and beheading innocent journalists. You are a target. Everyone is a target here in the West. Everybody who believes in freedom and live in a free world is their enemy. I'm not better than anyone who lives in this place. I choose to live free. They can do whatever they want to do. The most that they can take this form, my physical body. For me, I choose to live free.
Wow, that's quite a story.
It's a remarkable story, and I have to tell you that I asked them as well about, with this backdrop of violence escalating, yet again, this conflict between the Israelis and the Palestinians, do they have any shred of optimism? And Gonen Ben Yitzhak said absolutely, that the Israelis identify with the Palestinians, and they feel that the Palestinians identify with the Israelis. It's groups like Hamas where he sees the impediment, and Youssef says he wants to focus on the light as he has, and that's going to be the way through this. So it's fascinating that despite all they've been through, the horrors that he's seen, Youssef called it a slaughterhouse when he was imprisoned, he still finds it.
Why was he in prison?
He was captured by the Israelis to get information at points. So this opens on Friday, by the way.
Yeah. Where can people see
it? At Kendall Square and
West Newton?
and West Newton Cinema.
Great. All right, Jared, great piece.